All right, so what's your name and where are you from?
My name is Nicole Pludre, and I am from New York, but I live in Little Rock, Arkansas.
Oh, went from a good old the city side of New York or the countryside?
Long Island, West Islip, New York.
Okay, Long Island. Um, and you've got a pretty interesting story. Brittany brought you my way. Uh, Tell me a little bit about it. You say you went to the penitentiary. What prisons did you go to, and what'd you go for?
Okay, so I went to Arkansas Department of Corrections. They call it here RPF, which is a regional punishment facility, I think is what they call it.
That's
And I,
new to me.
huh?
That's a new name. They got
Yeah,
funny names for all the. Just name it prison. You know what I mean? Damn.
I don't know why they call it that, but all the like prisoners, we would all refer to it as RPF.
Uh huh.
I went there behind drug charges because when I was in active addiction for about at that time I'd been in active addiction for about 6 years, but I was in my addiction for a total of 13 years, and I went to prison behind a methamphetamine charge.
Okay, and how old are you now, if you don't mind me asking? Just a range?
Oh, I'm 37.
Damn, that's a long, big chunk of your life. You know, to drugs. What was your drug of choice? Was it methamphetamines?
IV methamphetamine and IV Roxy's. Roxycodone.
IV janks.
Yeah.
Damn. What do you mean? Well, hold on. I understand what IV is, but
Shooting a
is that
needle.
just a better way than saying shooting up? Okay, okay, okay.
I try to say intravenous drug addiction because some people might not understand. Like if I use the terminology as a rig or shooting up, so I just say IV because people understand that more. You know what I'm saying? Like technical.
I don't know. I know. When you said IV to me, I'm thinking you're walking around with an IV bag dripping some meth into your veins. That's
No,
just me though. I don't know. Maybe I'm a dumbass. I don't know. But so, yeah. Okay. So meth is. I was kind of addicted for about a good 7 months to Adderall. That's a methamphetamine in a way, and that shit, boy. Even though it made my gaming skills 100% elevated, it was treacherous. I don't know how. I can't even imagine you doing something like that. And uh, I have daughters, so it's hard for me to picture women doing stuff like that. Cause I can only picture my daughters doing it, and it would kill me. You know what I mean? But before we go into the prison side of things, you told Brittany, and she showed me one of the wild stories that you had about staying up for days and hallucinating. Can you tell me a little bit about that story?
oh, absolutely. Well, first of all, I want to tell you, like my dad felt the same way that you feel about your daughters about me. There was warning signs all while I was growing up to that I was becoming addicted to drugs. I was partying, I was drinking, I was smoking, I was, hanging out with the wrong crowd. But once I got out of high school, I took it to the next level, and I absolutely got kicked out of my parents' house, like basically right away, because my parents weren't down with enabling me. And so I just went off the deep end right away. Um, it
Well, tell
wasn't
me, tell me, what was your first experience with meth, and about how old were you?
Well, my first experience was right after probably about 17 and a half, 18 years old. Now, I grew up in Arkansas. So everybody, not everybody, but there's a lot of meth down here, a lot of poverty down here, a lot of trailer park living, all families living together. And the grandma, grandpa, whatever, uncle cooks the dope, sells it, and then the whole family like lives off the money. There's lots of rural areas, so it's something that like it's heavy down here.
Yeah,
And
they're
it was
whipping that up and all around the area, huh?
well, I mean, there was times where I lived like with dope cooks, and my parents would have phone calls from their friend's friend calling them and telling them, hey, your daughter's living with this dude, he's cooking methamphetamine, we saw her in there all night long, and my parents didn't know how to get me out of that situation, and I went balls to the wall. Once I snorted meth for the first time when I was younger, I loved it because I
How
was
old?
I was
17, 18?
17, and I was super insecure. I'd always like really struggled with my like weight, like a lot of us girls do. So when I figured out that meth like made me skinny, I freaking loved it.
Yeah.
And then it also made me feel like I had all the powers in the world. I could stay up and do homework and all the stuff I need to do for school. And then once I graduated, forget school. I signed up for college. I dropped out after the first year of being in college and failing every single class. And
Even on meth?
I moved in with a dope cook because that's all I cared about. I couldn't even study because I was so spun out. Like, I would get so high that I would stay up for days and days and days. I wouldn't eat. I wouldn't drink. I might eat like a cracker and have like a Mountain Dew. Like, it was not anything fun. But back then, like, I enjoyed getting high back then. You know what I'm saying? Before it became an addiction. Now, once I got to the point where I couldn't live my life without getting high, then it was horrible. And that's where these hallucinations and stuff started coming in. That was about 6.5, 7 years into my addiction. It was like methamphetamine turned on me. And every time I would use, I would go off the deep end. It was like something happened in my mind. And I would stay up for so long that I would lose total touch with reality. So I was spending the night over at one of my homeboys' house, and we had all been up for like a week. And man, I was the kind of drug addict that I was annoying. I was a liability. They were like, this girl's gonna, get us in trouble. She's overdosing. They're worried about me getting the cops called over there because I'm getting so high that I'm out of my mind.
Yeah.
Well, they ended up getting annoyed with me because I wouldn't go to sleep. So they gave me a half of a sleeping pill, Seroquel, and tried to get me to go to sleep with that.
Seroquel's vicious.
Oh, you don't even understand. One time I took a Seroquel and I was riding in the back of a Cadillac and I didn't have my door shut all the way. And this dude turned the corner and I fell out, rolled down the road. I cannot even tell you how many times.
Hate to laugh, but that shit just sounds funny. I've seen a couple girls roll out the cars like that.
Like, it's funny now, and
yeah.
That's what I do on my channel. Like, I try to reach addicts that are still in their addiction to help them by telling them these crazy stories. But then what we do is we focus on the recovery end. Once I get you over there to realize, hey, I've been where you've been. I understand what it's like. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So back to the story. I had taken that Seroquel and I went to go lay down. I was laying down with these two gay guys. I was right in the middle of them on this bed that was on the floor, like a mattress. This was like a tweaker trailer. And I didn't even lay down for like 10 minutes. And I got back up and I walked out the front door. And I had boxers, a t-shirt, no shoes on. It's Southwest Little Rock. Okay. I don't know if you guys ever watched that movie, Banging in Little Rock, but we have a lot of gangs here in Little Rock, and it's like pretty much known for that. And so I was like in the bad part of town, just walking with no shoes on, just boxers and a t-shirt, looking crazy.
Yeah.
And I kept seeing all these people from my job because I still had a job. I was still able to go into work, and that's why they kept me at my job, because I would get so high and I would go in and I would just work. Clean.
You're like, this girl's crazy, is batshit crazy, but she gets shit done.
And I got promoted, and that's how it all. I got promoted to assistant manager. They took me on trips with them to go clean other stores. It was a huge grocery chain I was working for. And so I'm walking down the road, and I see this lady's porch, and she it's like a dim light is on. It was probably like 1 o'clock in the morning, 2 o'clock in the morning. And I see this porch, and all I can see, I'm like, is these brownies all over her porch, like a pile of brownies. I thought it was weed brownies on this lady's porch. I swear, y'all are never going to believe me, but I know. I ran over to this porch, and she had a broom right there, and I grabbed it, and I started sweeping this porch, trying to get these brownies off this lady's porch. 1 o'clock in the morning. Little Spanish lady, she sticks her head out the window. She sticks her head back in, and she calls 911. Okay? The cops show up. And I swear to God, when the cop got there, he pulled his gun on me. And I'm going, and he's like, and I know he probably didn't pull his gun.
You're bobbing and weaving the gun, huh?
But I thought he did. I was like, ho, and he.
Oh, he never did?
No, never did. They got my cell phone and they called my parents, and they were like, your daughter is in a bad way. She needs help. They knew there was something wrong. So she said, call the ambulance. My parents were in a different part of Arkansas. They couldn't just come up there and save me. So they called the ambulance, and they threw me off in the ambulance, took me on to the ER. Well, then when I got back out, I went back to that house, right? And I was on another bender with them, staying up all night long. And this time I just sat in this recliner for like 8 hours straight the whole time.
I
And
mean, this is like immediately after you left the hospital.
right, they let me out of this. I went to the hospital twice now, so this is going to be right back to the hospital again.
Oh my God.
And this is
How long were you in the hospital for? Sorry, I hate to stop you, but how long were you in the hospital before they let you go?
okay. So when I went into the hospital, I wouldn't even let them admit me in on the first time I went in there. I just ran out the door and left. Went back, and this is something that happened to me about
Crazy.
5 times here in Little Rock. I would go AMA, against medical advice, and I would just take off and leave and run because I was so afraid. Every person that I thought was trying to help me, I thought they were trying to hurt me because I was hallucinating so badly off methamphetamine, and I would mix drugs together, and so I would just go out of my mind. And I don't mean to like laugh about it or make it like funny, but it's funny now that I'm looking back on it. But back then it was so scary, and I thought these people were trying to hurt me. I thought the cop was trying to kill me. So I went back over there, tried to lay back down, and then back out into the street again. And the same cops came back, took me, and didn't let me leave. And that's where I stayed in the hospital. And I went into a coma for 7 days
How did the cops come back?
because
Like,
that same lady called the cops on me because I was walking up and down that same street. And so they called the cops, and I went back up there. But before I went back up there, I sat in this trailer. Oh God, I felt like it was 8 hours, but it could have been just an hour. It could have been 30 minutes. And I just sat there and hallucinated that. This is so crazy. Cy from Duck Dynasty was sticking his head out of this vent in this trailer. You know what I'm talking
out
about.
of the vent?
The vent. And I was sitting in, I don't know why I kept seeing Cy from Duck Dynasty. I think it was because I was like watching that series. And I thought that he was going to, this is so crazy, take the recliner and catapult me out of the recliner through the sky and like flying over this trailer. This is all a hallucination that I'm having while I'm sitting in this house, And so now that I'm telling the story, and I've told it on my channel before too, it's like, it sounds so crazy, but it was so freaking real at the time. And then when I got to the hospital for the last time and they held me there, they were trying to help me to come down, and they were giving me Thorazine and Halidol, which is like a medication to calm somebody down, like an antipsychotic.
Yeah.
And I could not come down from it, And then the next thing I know, everything went black, and I woke up 7 days later with my mom and dad sitting beside me. And my mom was like, "Do you know what just happened?" And I was like, she's like, "You've been in a coma for 7 days, and a coma because my internal organs, my kidneys, my liver was shutting down. I was whatever I had shot up that night was just, I don't even know. It could have been mixed with anything. And that's how desperate I was when I was in my addiction, that I would take anything and shoot it up, If it could go into a needle, I would put it in my arm.
That's crazy as hell. Did you ever do like speedball and like dope and meth at the same time?
Everything there is to do. Everything there is.
I bet you've seen some wild shit in them trailers.
Oh.
What is the craziest damn thing you've seen in them tweaker trailers? God, I don't know what I'm going to title this video, but it's going to be epic. I don't know what I'm going to do.
When I lived at this one guy's house, I used to stay there, and the way I would pay my way to live there was I would shuck matches. Do you know what that means? Shucking matches for the red phosphorus.
Yeah, now let's not break it down, but I understand what you mean. Yeah.
So that's how I would pay my way. In this house, when it was so, okay, you know how I don't know, you don't know, but some people might know, tweaker houses are either pristinely clean or they are so cluttered that they have like, you can barely get into the house. Well, this house was one of those houses that you had to burrow through tunnels of junk, pilfering stuff to just get to the next room where you needed to go. And everywhere you would go, there would be somebody else, pilfering through something, trying to steal something. We had these cameras rigged up to where we could see anybody that was coming in the driveway, anybody that was going out, because this trailer was at a dead end. And so, like, if somebody was going to come and raid the trailer, we would need to see if people were driving up. This trailer, we had so much traffic going in and out, that there was cops posted up across the street just sitting there watching us. The craziest thing I've ever done while I was in a trailer was stand outside at 3 o'clock in the morning, hitting golf balls, watching that cop across the street while the cook is in there boofing off a batch. And the cop is literally over there. And then I swear to God, I left and I came back. And like 2 weeks later, they finally kicked in the door over there. Man, I've sat in places where we stayed up all night long and I called the police on myself. And I had the police come over to the house because I thought people were outside trying to break in. So the cops come banging on the door and I got everybody in the living room sitting there smoking. And then I open the door and they're all shoving pipes into their socks, burning skin, pipe burning skin. All you can smell is burnt hair and skin because they're trying to hide their pipe. And I've got the cops
crazy
searching the perimeter of this house because I think somebody's coming. I've called the police on myself because I was over at a girlfriend's house and I had been up for so many days and I thought I was dying. I thought I couldn't breathe. So I called the police and the police called the ambulance, took me to St. Vincent's, and I left AMA. You know, I've seen some really nasty stuff, like people just getting all kinds of like crazy and dudes watching porn for like 18 hours straight and just like, you don't even, it's just crazy. You know
what's the word for it? Debauchery?
Yeah. Debauchery. Yes.
There we go.
It's just like, and I mean, there was times where I was right there in the middle of that kind of debauchery, but for the most part, you know, I was so comatose or out of my mind that you couldn't even mess with me. Like I got to that point where I was just, like I said, a liability. Nobody wanted me to come over and get high with them because I was either going to walk off running down the street, call the law, or overdose, you know? And that was like what it became like. And it wasn't until I met my husband. We're both in recovery. We've both been sober. I'm sober 4 years. He's got a little bit less time than I am because he took a little bit to catch up. But it wasn't until I had my son and went through a custody battle fighting to get my son because of my addiction. Like I let my addiction get so bad that I let my son go into DHS custody because I couldn't stay sober. And he stayed in custody for about 10 months. And that was the hardest thing I've ever been through in my whole entire life. I have so much guilt and shame like surrounding that because I know that I wasn't raised like that. You know, I come from a good family. My mom and dad always taught me, you know, to go to church, you know, do the right thing, stay away from drugs. And it was because of my choices that I got hooked on drugs. And then once I got hooked, it was like I didn't have any choice anymore. And it wasn't until I almost lost my son that I snapped out of it. You know, having my child taken from me woke me up. It literally shook me to the core. You know, and I went into treatment that day, the day my son went away to DHS. And I had to take him and hand him over to people I didn't know. And that was like, he hadn't even turned 1 year old. It was like 2 days before his first birthday. So it was real hard. And I can imagine it was even harder for him. And that's what makes it so hard for me. Because I was supposed to be taking care of him.
Damn. See, this is why I have girls on the show. You're about to make me cry over here.
And I don't mean to get emotional, but I understand the struggle for people that are addicted. And I take full responsibility for all that crazy stuff I did. I take full responsibility for getting caught up with dope and going to prison. You know, like I did my time. I got out, still got high, you know. I will never be able to make it up to my son for him being taken.
How old was he when you got him back?
He was, it was 2 days before his first birthday that he got removed from my care. And it was he was probably almost 2 when I got him back. So it was almost a whole year that he was gone.
You're going to be all right. He ain't going to remember none of that.
He doesn't remember anything. And he's like my little sidekick. He knows that I'm in recovery. I'm already teaching him about the dangers of addiction and and his friends and peer pressure, and he's 5 years old, but it's like, I just think it's so important for people to understand, like, I totally know what I was doing, and when I was in my addiction, everything was fun and games until it wasn't fun and games,
Yeah, that's always how it is.
Yeah.
People think they can control it, and then it starts controlling them and their minds. I think we're gonna save. I would like to do a part 2. I think I'm gonna save the penitentiary. What? Before I ask you these questions, what prisons did you go to? You said again. What? It was in Arkansas, correct?
Arkansas Department of Corrections.
Okay.
And I was in county jail, and that's it.
Okay. Yeah, I would like to save some prison talk for another day, if you don't mind. I want to ask you, do you feel as though, was your parents very preachy and pressure-filled, as in, like, you better do right?
Absolutely.
Absolutely. Just remember, ladies and gentlemen, I always feel as though, I think you could cause more harm to, this is just my viewpoints. Don't take it. You can take it how you want it. I feel as though parents are very preachy, and really preachy pushes the kid away even more. That's just my opinion. My parents were very preachy and very strict, or tried to be strict. When you do that, the kid just wants to do him, or her just wants to do her. And then, they might get introduced to some friends in school, and then, it's a chain reaction. It's a daisy chain of events, and it all starts behind, you don't want to hear all that preachy stuff from your parents. You want to just, do you feel as though that kind of pushed you into the, just let me do me type of phase?
When I tell my story on my channel, because I've literally told, like, my recovery story so many times, it started out with, my mom was Pentecostal. My dad just kind of followed suit and went to whatever church my mom told him to go to. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I was raised up not being able to cut my hair, couldn't wear pants, couldn't wear makeup, no earrings.
What do you mean you couldn't wear pants?
I had to wear skirts and dresses all the time.
And this was in high school?
No. Thank God it didn't go to that point. I was probably about 10 years old when my mom converted over to non-denominational, like Assembly of God style church. And I was still raised up in church, but we were allowed to wear, like, regular clothes and secular, like, put makeup on, earrings, not.
Oh, so she was doing that because of the Pentecostal thing.
Right.
Oh, okay.
And then my dad was super, super strict. Like, he's Italian, and his dad was abusive to him. My dad never hit me, nothing like that. I mean, he spanked my butt, but nothing bad. But he was real controlling, very controlling. And so much so that he was controlling to the point where he wanted to control, like, how much food I ate, because he wanted to make sure I didn't go up and down in my weight. And he didn't want me to be out past, like, 9 o'clock at night. I mean, it was, like, so strict, and that's exactly what happened. He would always be controlling me and my sisters or my mom. And the moment I was old enough to get out from underneath him, I went buck wild. And me and my two sisters, I have two little sisters. I'm the oldest. Me and my sister Michelle, we went buck wild. My sister Christine watched us and said, "Oh, hell no, I ain't doing that shit." And she's like the good kid. But me and my sister Michelle, we was running the streets. My sister, it was like trouble times 2 all the time. My sister would get kicked out of school. I would have to go pick her up. It was a lot of chaos when we were growing up. And it wasn't because my parents weren't good parents, but it was like a power struggle between me and my sister and them. And I do look at it like, now that I have my own kid, I look at it like, I try to just keep those lines of communication open with my son. Like, he can tell me anything and I'm not going to be angry with him, because I want him to know that he can come to me and talk to me and not be worried. I was afraid to go talk to my dad or my mom. You know what I'm saying? Like, I felt like if I did, I was going to get in trouble. But like I said, I can't blame that on them. It was just how the cards were dealt to me. I wanted to fit in so bad when I was younger. I always felt like I didn't have there was something I had missing inside of me. I was always just a little bit different than everybody else. I went to a school that was super country. I was one of the only girls that wasn't like, I was half Mexican, half Italian. So I wasn't quite white, wasn't quite all the way brown, you know? So I always got shit when I was little for being taco and burrito, and the little kids would make fun of me, you know, because we were from a country town where prejudice still lives, you know? And so as I grew up with those kids, though, they got to know me, their families got to know me, and we all graduated at the same time. And it was, you know, that's all in the past. But that kind of stuff is still happening in the town I grew up in to this day, you know, at the school. It just, I wanted to fit in. And when I started drinking and smoking pot, and now I believe that for some people, pot can be a gateway to harder
Yeah.
drugs. Because what it does is it introduces you to people who have cocaine, methamphetamine, Roxy's, stuff like that. And that's how it happened for me. I was connected to other people that were doing meth. And that's how I got started, you know, using meth, is because I met people that had it, wanted to try it. It was great. It made me skinny. Let's do this. And then it had a hold of me. And then when I got stuck on opiates later on in my addiction, because I had an addiction for about 7 years just to stimulants, then the opiates came into play, and I couldn't live my life unless I shot up opiates, because I was deathly ill if I didn't every morning. When I would wake up, if I didn't have a Roxy, I was so sick I couldn't move my bones. My body would ache. I would be so ill, you know, and that's when that opiates took me down to my knees and made me like, I had to go out and I would do anything to get money. And I'm not rich. I don't come from a rich family. Like, I would have to hustle. I would have to go into stores and like, I had this racket where I would get these $200 purses because I knew the inventory day that this place stocked all these real nice name brand bags. And I would go in and I would soup them up, like 6 on my arm. And my man would be outside in the parking lot, and I would just boom, 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 bam, through the door and jump in the truck, and we would take off. And I would take these $200 purses and sell them to my dope man's old lady, or this, you know, and this and that, and make just $100, $50. And after I just risked my whole life booking it out of these stores. And I had this whole gig where I did that for a while until I got caught. And when I got caught, damn, that was the worst thing, because now it's like that follows me. I've got the felony, I've got misdemeanor thefts on my record, and it follows me for my life. I can't even get a good job, you know, and be employed somewhere. I just put in an application somewhere. I was so excited because the guy knows me and he wanted to hire me. He's like, man, you're a good worker. He goes and runs my background, and he's like, they won't let me hire you, you know? And I'm like, damn, it forever ruins everything, you know, just to feed that addiction. And that's exactly where my crimes came from, was to feed my addiction.
Yeah. It's unbelievable. You know, a lot of people get addicted to these drugs, and I know addiction, but I don't know addiction to that level, because when I did stuff like that, like e-pills or stuff like that, I knew that they were horrible and they were addicting. So I told myself before, I know some people say it too, but they end up getting addicted. But I knew I had enough willpower, and I knew that, you know, I could not be doing this shit on a regular basis, you know. But people that go through it, man, I tell you what, like you said, the opiates brought you down to your knees, you know. I've never took the whole downer path on drug side, but, you know, after seeing my brother OD from heroin die, you know, that right there in itself just woke me up. Because my brother, man, I looked up to him. You know, I just looked up to him, and he was always, you know, doing successful stuff. And then all of a sudden, it's just his life just freaking. When I went to prison, the second time I came out, his life was in shambles. He wasn't even like my brother anymore from freaking heroin, man, you know? And that in itself, man, just woke me up. You know, I have a whole nother, I guess you could say, empathizing with, you know, people such as yourself that went through addiction, you know. And back in the day, I used to say, man, if you want to quit something, and I still believe it to a point, if you want to quit something, you can do it. You know, you just have to want it enough, you know. And I still believe that, but at the same time, I can only imagine, you know, all that sickness that you would have to deal with. I mean, it'd be terrifying. Who would want to go through that? They'd rather just get the quick fix,
And
you
that's
know?
what happens to people that are addicted to opiates, is that it's that sickness that keeps them from being able to, it's like they're so afraid of the withdrawal, you know?
Yeah.
And now that you say that, I'm going to tell you, like, on my whole reason why I started my channel. And Death, you don't understand, man, like, this is a huge opportunity for me coming on your channel.
Yeah, what is your channel name? I was gonna ask you a little towards the end, but go ahead, tell me what's your channel name, and just give them a brief summary. I'm pretty sure people know exactly what you're gonna be talking about over there.
Okay, it's called Real Talk Recovery, and we talk about recovery from addiction, and I share my life with the whole YouTube.
Yeah.
And I do what I do on my channel, because when I was addicted to drugs and on the opiates, me and my husband both went and got on a medication called Suboxone. And when I got prescribed Suboxone, I was in AA, and I loved the 12 steps. Okay. And they really helped me to learn how to relive my life. But I was looking around, and there was nobody that was on this medication that was living their life right, that was staying sober, that wasn't getting high, that wasn't selling their medication and doing all these things. And I needed support. And I was like, man, there's no support out here for people that were addicted to opiates that are on medically assisted treatment, because now I'm tapering down. And so I went from 12 milligrams to 10 milligrams to 8 milligrams to 6 milligrams. And then next month on the 14th, I go down to 4 milligrams, and then I'll go down to 2, and then 1, and then I'll drop off. And hey, like that. And I've taken it super slow. And I hear a lot of people have a lot of judgment surrounding Suboxone. And there's so many people who it has helped and saved their life. But there are a lot of people, whenever you have something like this, there's a lot of people who are going to share their negative side effects and the negative experience. And those are the people that talk the loudest. So
Yeah.
I couldn't find anybody that was like me, that was having a positive experience and whose life was being saved basically from this medication that was helping me learn. It was taking away the cravings, and I was doing the work in therapy. I was going to my meetings. You know, I'm still go to meetings. And so I started my channel in the hopes that I could start sharing with others about being on Suboxone and starting a support network for people who needed support that were on medically assisted treatment. And so that's how my channel, I mean, I don't even have 2,000 subscribers. I got about like 1,900 almost. But in the last year and a half, that's what it's taken me to get to that point. And it's those people that are finding my channel that need support. Now, anyone is welcome, but my channel is basically for helping others that need to find support and recovery. That's what I do all day long on my channel. Is I have a phone number I give out if you need help. I don't work for a treatment center. I don't get paid to do it. I don't give medical advice. All I do is share my personal experience and what has worked for me. And if you want to hear about it and you want to try something like that, I will help point you in the right direction. But other than that, it's just like a support network of other addicts that are in recovery. We got people that are abstinent, you know, that have been sober 21, 25 years. We got people that are on medically assisted treatment that are tapering off. We have people that have been on the medication, don't plan to taper off. It's just all inclusive recovery. Anyone is welcome, but it's positive, and it's to help other people to better their lives. And by helping other people better their lives, it helps me stay sober and better my own life.
Yeah. I'm going to leave the links for your channel pinned in the comment section and in the description, and your Instagram, whatever kind of links you might have, send them to me when this is over. And I hope someone comes over there. But my audience, I don't have too large of a female audience. And, you know, see, this is the thing. My audience, I love them. But damn, they just want to hear good old shanking stories, you know? I'll tell you what, out of all the prison stories I heard, I mean, this is not a prison story, but this shit's damn batshit crazy. You know, even though it was a horrible time in your life, I thoroughly enjoyed hearing it, you know? It was an entertaining story.
I'm obsessed with your channel. Like, I love you and Brittany. I think you guys are doing amazing things. So humble, good people. Y'all are doing it, and I'm proud of you. I'm so glad that your audience has blown up and grown to what it was, because if anybody deserves to, you know, benefit from their channel, it's people like you guys who are actually trying to do the right thing and help others. And the fact that you shared about your brother, I totally understand. I've lost so many people to overdose. So that just makes me like love you guys that much more, because heroin addiction is killing so many people. And if people will just know that they're not alone. They can reach out for help anywhere. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what time it is. It doesn't matter where you're at. Like, you're not alone, and you don't have to stay sick and suffering in your addiction. And that's what it is. It's pride, it's ego, and it's shame and guilt that keeps us sick in that addiction. And those are all lies that the devil tells us.
Yeah,
So.
it is. It is. Man, this was a powerful one, you know.
Sorry about that.
It's all good. It's all right. It's killing people left and right, ladies and gentlemen. Hopefully someone gets something from this and wakes the hell up. Because you only got one life to live, and believe it or not, you know, there's someone, even if you don't think there's someone out there that loves you, sooner or later in life, if you were to get clean, you will find out that someone will love you. You just got to tighten it up, you know. But I appreciate you coming on to the show, and I would like to do a part 2 about your prison stay, if you don't mind. Just send me all the links that you have, and hopefully people go over there and check you out, support you, at least hit the subscribe button, help you to get monetized or something, you know, something along those lines. I wish you nothing but the best. I wish your boyfriend, husband, I don't know what, I can't remember what you said. Husband, I wish him nothing but success, and you know, better tell him, you know, you're looking up to him in a major way, I'm sure. So a lot of pressures on him. Tell him he better act right. You know what I mean? And if anything, if he decides to do something stupid, don't you follow up.
Look at me. We've been there, done that, and I don't follow. I lead the way.
Okay.
And you know how they say about the woman, the man might be the head of the house, but I'm the neck.
I know that's right. I'm the damn head, neck, and legs over here. You hear me, Brittany? I'm the head, neck, and legs. That's what's up. Well, I appreciate you coming on to the show, and like I said, I'm looking forward to hearing your prison stay on a part 2, and nothing but blessings your way.
All right. Thanks, Death. I'll talk to you later.
Thank you.